I found my wife cheating with my daughter's boyfriend. 6 months later, her sister spills the beans. Turns out, this wasn't her first affair. I'm a 48-year-old guy, and my 46-year-old wife cheated on me with my daughter's fiancé, who's just 24. Honestly, I never thought I'd be telling a story like this. My life has taken a wild turn, and I'm still wrapping my head around it. Let me take you back to the start. I met Monica when we were freshmen in college. I was 18 and she was 17. We both joined the campus environmental club, eager to make a difference. I still remember the first time I laid eyes on her. She was passionately presenting on deforestation, her eyes shining with excitement. I was drawn in not just by her looks, but by her smarts and drive. A few months later, we started dating. Our first date was a total flop. We ended up stuck under a tree, drenched, munching on soggy sandwiches. But we laughed it off, and that's when I realized she was something special. After college, we both found jobs in the same city. I went into corporate law, focusing on environmental issues, while Monica chased her dream in marine biology. We were young and driven, putting in long hours but always making time for each other. Late-night dinners became our thing, sharing stories over takeout Chinese. We tied the knot when I was 24 and she was 23. It was a cozy ceremony in her parents' backyard. I can still picture her walking down the aisle in that simple white dress, wildflowers in her hair. We wrote our own vows, promising to support each other's dreams and tackle whatever life threw our way. At first, we weren't interested in having kids. Our careers were our main focus, and we loved the freedom that came with it. We traveled a lot, backpacking across Europe, volunteering at a wildlife sanctuary in Africa, and scuba diving in the Great Barrier Reef. Monica's job often took her to remote coastal spots, and I would join her whenever I could, working from wherever we were. About 6 years into our marriage, things began to shift. At a friend's baby shower, I caught Monica gazing longingly at the baby gifts. At night, she opened up about having second thoughts on not having kids. I was a bit unsure at first. Our life was pretty comfortable, and adding a child would change everything. But seeing the desire in Monica's eyes made me realize how much it meant to her. We spent the next year talking it over, weighing the good and the bad. We even attended a couples retreat to sort through our feelings. Eventually, we decided to go for it and try for a baby. The journey wasn't smooth. Monica faced some health challenges that complicated conception. We endured 2 years of fertility treatments, and each setback hit us hard. There were moments when we nearly threw in the towel, but we leaned on each other during the tough times. Then, at last, it happened. I'll always remember the day Monica showed me the positive pregnancy test, her hands trembling with excitement. 9 months later, our daughter Amber arrived, crying loudly, and from that moment, she had us completely enchanted. Amber was a breeze as a baby but turned into a handful as a toddler. She was endlessly curious, always getting into trouble. I recall one time when she was 3, we found her in the kitchen, completely covered in flour, proudly declaring she was baking cookies. Instead of getting upset, Monica just laughed and joined her in the kitchen. That was the kind of mom Monica was, patient, loving, and always turning chaos into joy. As Amber grew, our lives became all about her. We were her biggest fans at soccer games, helped her out with science fair projects, and were there to comfort her through her first heartbreak. When she headed off to college at 18, the house felt strangely empty. Monica and I started reconnecting, rediscovering the couple we used to be before parenthood took over. During Amber's sophomore year, she decided to study abroad in Spain. That's where she met Marco, a charming Italian exchange student. When she returned, she couldn't stop raving about him. She talked about how he was training to be a doctor, how he volunteered at animal shelters, and how he could always make her laugh, even on her toughest days. It was obvious she was head over heels. Last summer, when Amber was 21 and Marco was 23, we invited him to our beach house. We had just bought the beach house as a little reward for ourselves after years of hard work. It was a stunning spot right on the coast, with a wraparound porch that was perfect for sunset views. When Marco showed up, I was impressed right away. He was a top student in his medical program and had a fantastic sense of humor. He blended in with our family seamlessly, helping me grill on the patio and chatting with Monica about marine life. I remember thinking how fortunate Amber was to have found someone so perfect for her. What I didn't see coming was Monica's reaction to Marco. At first, I thought she was just being nice, but as the days passed, I noticed a shift in her behavior. She laughed a bit too hard at his jokes and touched his arm a little too frequently. I tried to brush it off, convincing myself I was just being paranoid. After all, this was Monica, my wife of 24 years and the mother of my child. She wouldn't do anything to jeopardize our family, right? One evening, about a week into Marco's visit, I had to run into town for some groceries. We were gearing up for a big family dinner, and I thought it'd be great to grab some fresh seafood from the local market. When I got back home, everything was eerily quiet. I figured everyone was at the beach, so I started putting away the groceries. That's when I heard a giggling coming from the guest room. I froze, my heart racing. I recognized Monica's laugh, followed by Marco's deep voice. I don't know why, but I found myself heading toward the guest room. The door was slightly open, and what I saw through that small gap turned my world upside down. Monica and Marco were on the bed, locked in a passionate kiss. My wife, the mother of my child, was in the arms of our daughter's boyfriend. I must have made a noise because they both looked up and saw me. Monica's face went white and Marco jumped off the bed. I was speechless, frozen in place. I just turned around and walked away, my mind spinning. The next few hours were a chaotic blur. There was shouting, tears, and accusations flying everywhere. Amber came home from her friend's house to find her life in shambles too. She was heartbroken, going from sobbing to yelling at her mom and Marco. It's been 2 weeks since that day. Amber and I are holed up in a hotel while we try to figure things out. Monica has been bombarding me with calls and texts, pleading for forgiveness, claiming it was a mistake. Marco left the day after it all went down, and as far as I know, he's back in Italy. I feel completely lost. After 24 years of marriage, it all crumbled in an instant. The trust is shattered, and I'm not sure it can ever be repaired. Amber barely talks to her mother, and I can't blame her. How do you even begin to forgive something like this? I keep replaying memories over and over in my mind. Our wedding day, Amber's arrival, family trips, cozy nights in, were they all just illusions? How long has this been happening? Did I really miss all the signs? I've got a meeting with a lawyer next week to go over my options. I never imagined I'd be thinking about divorce at 48, but here we are. The toughest part is seeing Amber hurt. She's lost her boyfriend and her trust in her mom all at once. I have no idea what the future looks like, but I know it's going to be rough. I'd really appreciate any advice or support. How do I take the next steps from here? Update: it's been about a month since I last shared, and a lot has gone down. First off, thanks to everyone for your support and suggestions. It's been a tough time, but your kind words have meant a lot. After my meeting with a lawyer, I made the decision to file for divorce. It wasn't easy, but I realized I couldn't get past Monica's betrayal. The trust is gone, and without that, what do we have? The lawyer walked me through the process, and it felt surreal to hear him talk about splitting assets and custody arrangements. Even though Amber is an adult, it still felt necessary to discuss. Monica didn't take the news well at all. She showed up at the hotel where Amber and I were staying, making a scene in the lobby. She was crying and begging for another chance, saying she'd do anything to fix things. It was hard to watch, but I stood firm. Amber was with me, and seeing her mom like that just made her more upset and angry. We've since left the hotel and moved into a small apartment. It's not much, but it's a space for us to regroup and heal. The new place is in a different part of town, which helps since there are fewer painful memories to deal with every day. Amber has decided to take a semester off from college to process everything, and I completely support her choice. Mental health comes first. She's been diving back into painting a lot lately, something she used to really enjoy but had put aside when college got hectic. It seems to be helping her sort through her feelings. As for Marco, we found out he's been trying to get in touch with Amber. She blocked him, but he's been reaching out through friends we share. From what we've heard, he's saying it was just a one-time slip-up, that he was drunk and Monica made a move on him. Amber isn't buying it, and honestly, neither am I. The betrayal cuts too deep. The biggest shock came last week when Monica's sister, Emma, reached out to me. Emma and I have always had a good vibe together. She felt more like a friend than just a sister-in-law. She told me that Monica had opened up to her about the affair with Marco. Apparently, it wasn't just a one-time thing. It had been happening for months, starting right after Marco first came over last Christmas. Emma was conflicted about whether to tell me, but she couldn't keep it in any longer. She also mentioned that Monica had a brief fling early in our marriage, which I had no clue about. It hit me hard. It felt like my whole marriage was a lie. Emma explained that it happened during a tough time for us when I was working long hours at the law firm and Monica felt ignored. While it doesn't justify her actions, it does highlight some issues in our marriage that I had overlooked. I shared what Emma told me with Amber. She was crushed all over again. Thinking it was just a moment of weakness is one thing, but finding out it was a months-long affair, that her boyfriend had been sleeping with her mom this whole time, it was overwhelming. Amber locked herself in her room for days, hardly eating. I felt so helpless, not knowing how to support her when I was struggling to deal with everything myself. Amber has started seeing a therapist to help her work through everything, and I'm thinking about doing the same. Sometimes, the weight of it all feels like too much to handle. There are days when just getting out of bed feels like a huge challenge and facing the world seems impossible. But I keep pushing through, mostly for Amber. The divorce is progressing. Monica is fighting it, but my lawyer is pretty optimistic. We're also putting the beach house on the market, it holds too many painful memories now. It feels like we're taking apart our whole life, piece by piece. Every decision and every document signed feels like another blow to our marriage. I'm trying to take it one day at a time. Some days are definitely better than others. I've picked up running again, something I used to enjoy but let slide as life got hectic. The physical activity helps clear my head, even if just for a little while. Amber and I are leaning on each other, which has actually brought us closer. We're both hurting and feeling betrayed, but we're getting through it together. There are times I catch myself missing Monica and the life we had, but then I remember her betrayal and the years of lies, and that anger comes flooding back. It's a wild emotional ride. I'll keep you posted when there's more to share. Thanks again for all your support, it really means a lot. Update 2. It's been 3 months since my last update and 6 months since that day at the beach house. Life has settled into a new routine, though it still feels a bit surreal. The divorce is finalized now. Monica didn't fight it in the end, I think she realized it was pointless. We divided our assets evenly, which felt fair since we both contributed equally during our marriage. The beach house sold quickly, and we split that money too. Signing those final papers brought a mix of relief and sadness. It's the close of one chapter and the start of another. Amber's back in college now. She's still feeling the pain, but she's using it to fuel her studies. She decided to switch her major to psychology because she wants to help others who have faced similar struggles. I couldn't be more proud of her strength. She checks in with me every few days, and we've kicked off a new weekend tradition of video calls where we cook the same dish together, even though we're in different kitchens. Last month, we had a real breakthrough. While packing up the last of our stuff from the family home, Amber stumbled upon some old photo albums. There were adorable baby pictures of her and snapshots of Monica and me looking young and carefree. For the first time since everything changed, Amber let herself cry about the loss of her family as she once knew it. We sat on the floor, surrounded by those memories, and talked for hours about the good times and how much has shifted. Amber shared some childhood stories I had forgotten, like her epic attempt to build a treehouse that ended up being a wobbly platform we proudly named our forest castle. We laughed and cried, mourning what we lost while cherishing the good memories. Amber confessed she missed her mom, no matter what. I reassured her that it was okay to feel that way, that it didn't lessen the pain or mean she had to forgive right away. We delved into the complexity of feelings, discussing how you can be angry at someone yet still love them. It was a tough conversation, but it felt like a burden was lifted afterward. As for Monica, she's now living with her sister Emma. The last I heard, she started volunteering at a women's shelter. Part of me hopes she's genuinely trying to improve for Amber's sake, at the very least. Emma keeps me in the loop from time to time, which I really appreciate. It's a bit odd to picture Monica starting fresh without us, but I guess that's just part of what divorce brings. A few weeks back, Marco reached out to me. He sent a lengthy email filled with apologies and attempts to justify his actions. I chose not to reply. Some things just can't be brushed aside or forgiven, at least not by me. Amber mentioned he's still trying to get in touch with her too, but she's sticking to her guns about cutting him out of her life. I've dipped my toes back into dating, but just casually. Nothing too serious, just grabbing coffee now and then. It feels weird after being with Monica for so long, but there's also a thrill to it. I'm rediscovering parts of myself that I had forgotten about. I joined a local hiking group, something I always wanted to do but never had the time for when I was married. It's refreshing to meet new people who don't know my past and just see me for who I am now. Amber and I have started a new weekly dinner tradition, just the two of us. Sometimes we cook, other times we explore new restaurants. It's our time to catch up and make sure we're both doing alright. Last week, we attempted to make sushi. It was a total mess, rice everywhere and rolls that looked ridiculous, but we laughed more than we had in ages. Life keeps moving, as they say. It's not the life I envisioned, but I'm trying to make the most of it. Amber and I are healing, little by little. That's all I can really ask for at this point. Update 3. It's been a year since everything fell apart and I felt it was time for another update. So much has changed, yet in some ways, it feels like that day at the beach house was just yesterday. Amber graduated from college last month. Watching her walk across that stage brought a whirlwind of emotions: pride, happiness, and a hint of sadness that Monica wasn't there to witness it. Amber had invited her, but Monica chose to skip it, thinking it might be too uncomfortable. Instead, she sent a thoughtful letter along with a gift. Honestly, it was probably for the best. The graduation ceremony took me back to my own college days, with Monica cheering me on from the stands. I can still picture us chatting about our dreams for the future that day, never really knowing how things would turn out. Life sure knows how to throw curveballs. After the ceremony, Amber mentioned she's been in touch with Monica more often. They're not quite back to their old selves, and maybe they never will be, but they're making an effort to mend their relationship. It's been tough for me to wrap my head around, but I get why Amber wants her mom in her life. They've been grabbing coffee every couple of weeks, taking baby steps toward reconciliation. As for me, I've stumbled upon happiness in some unexpected ways. Remember those coffee dates I mentioned? One of them blossomed into something more. Her name is Claire. She's a widow with 2 grown kids. We met at a local bookstore, both reaching for the same book. It felt like a scene from a rom-com, and we had a good laugh about it over coffee. We've been seeing each other for about 6 months now. Claire gets my baggage, and I get hers. It's different from what I had with Monica, but in many ways, it's even better. There's a level of understanding and appreciation that comes with age and experience. We're taking our time, both mindful of the challenges that come with blending families and navigating relationships later in life. Amber was a bit unsure about Claire at first, which I totally understood. But they've gotten to know each other, and now they get along great. Amber told me she's just glad to see me happy again. Last month, we all took a weekend trip to a nearby lake. It was refreshing, making new memories in a place that didn't hold any painful reminders. Oh, and I bumped into Marco at a coffee shop last week. It was definitely an awkward moment. He attempted to apologize once more, but I just turned and walked away. Some scars are still too raw, even after a year. Seeing him again stirred up a whirlwind of feelings I thought I had put behind me. That night, sleep was elusive. Old memories came rushing back. Monica has moved out of her sister's place and bought a cozy little house for herself. She's still volunteering at the women's shelter and has started taking social work classes. Emma mentioned that she's been regularly seeing a therapist to work through her own challenges. Part of me feels happy that she's making an effort to change her life, even if I can't be part of it. Amber's been applying to grad schools for psychology, aiming to specialize in family therapy, inspired by her own journey. We spent a weekend checking out potential schools together. It was nice, just the two of us on a road trip like we used to do when she was younger. The beach house sold a few months back. Cleaning it out turned out to be tougher than I anticipated. Every room was filled with memories: family vacations, holiday get-togethers, and peaceful weekends away. But as we packed up the final box, I felt a sense of closure. That chapter is done, but new ones are on the horizon. I've started writing again, something I loved back in college but let slip as life got busier. Nothing too serious, just some short stories and the occasional poem. It's therapeutic, helping me sort through my thoughts and feelings. Claire has been pushing me to join a local writers group. Life has a way of throwing surprises at you. A year ago, I thought everything was over. Now, I'm stepping into a new chapter, with new love and a stronger bond with my daughter. It hasn't been a walk in the park and there are still tough days. But I'm feeling hopeful about the future in a way I never thought I would again. Amber and I still have our weekly dinners. Last night, we attempted to make homemade pizza. As we kneaded the dough and laughed at our lopsided creations, it hit me. We're going to be just fine. Thank you for watching this video. For more content like this, subscribe. I post stories like this from across the internet.